does it mean to build a legacy on your own terms? Hi, I'm Tanya Hendrix, and this is Legacy Her Way, the podcast where we explore how women are creating powerful personal legacies through family, faith, business, community, and beyond. From foster moms to founders, creatives to caregivers, we go beyond the buzzwords and talk about real life, real impact, and the values that guide it all. Whether you're building wealth, raising kids, or launching your next big thing, this space is for you. Now, this episode is sponsored by Huntsville Estate Planning Lawyer, LLC, where we empower your vision and secure your future through estate planning and trademarks. So let's talk about legacy, her way, your way, the way that matters most. Today's guest is someone who has a tremendous legacy already. She continues to build this powerful personal legacy for herself and for others. Tara Douglas is the co-owner of Broadway Spinal Care in Sylacauga, Alabama. She is passionate about health and nutrition, but also about helping animals who don't have homes. So she is a chiropractor, Pilates instructor, fosters animals, volunteers with the Sylacauga Animal Shelter, and also with the Sylacauga Beautification Council. So, researching Tara, I don't know how she does it all because she has a lot happening. I know how much it is uh, just to be a business owner. It takes a lot. And so Tara has a lot of other things that she is spending her time and her passion and her love and devotion on all these other things, particularly the animals and Sylacauga beautification. So I want to welcome you to the show, Tara. Tara,
You.
sorry.
Thank you. It's fine.
So
I'm glad to be here.
I am so excited to have you join me today for this episode. Before we get into all that you have going on, I want the audience to know a little bit about Tara. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up in Sylacauga, Alabama, and that's where we live now. And went to Auburn University. Sylacauga used to be very much a textile town. And so I got a scholarship for textiles. So I graduated with textile chemistry degree. And then I went to work in Columbus, Georgia for a chemical company for a couple of years. And that's when the textile industry was moving to Central and South America. And I figured out pretty quickly that if I wanted to have a job within the United States, I might need to pivot and do something different. And I made the great mistake of thinking I would like to do lab work. And I realized very quickly. So I ended up at UAB in a cellular molecular biology PhD program, thinking that medical research was going to be my thing. And that was something I figured out very quickly. I was not made to be isolated in a lab. I'm glad people do that. And I'm glad people enjoy it, but I didn't. And then
Mhm.
I ended up in chiropractic college after that and love it. So
Mhm.
that's been really a great thing for me is this chiropractic baseline of my professional career.
How difficult was it to admit that, one, I mean, you went to school and got your degree for textiles,
Mm.
and then you had the foresight, and I remember that period of time where everything started shifting and moving to other countries, and it kind of hurt a lot of small towns in Alabama, a lot of small towns in
Absolutely.
Alabama. So I remember that happening, and so you had the foresight to go, yeah, I need to make some changes, and you went back to school for something else. How difficult was it when you went back to school to go, this isn't for me. I need to pivot once again to something else.
It was hard to admit that wasn't the right thing for me. I think that in my family, both of my parents have PhDs. Both of them expected me to do more than a bachelor's degree. But when I graduated from Auburn, I wanted to work some. And so I had to make my own decision of, you know what, I'm going to go and I'm going to get a job and see how I do. So it was always something in the back of my mind that I would go back to school. So that part wasn't that hard to realize, hey, the textile industry is not going to be around. I'm going to do something different. But I packed up from Columbus, Georgia, moved to Birmingham, and got an apartment. And then it wasn't long I realized, wow, I don't think I made the right decision. And so I stuck it out for a whole year, thinking, okay, maybe I can find something, because they would have us rotate through different labs and do different do different types of research, because after that first year of classes, you had to figure out what you would like your research to be. And I
Mm-hmm.
just couldn't find anything. There's being, and it was disappointing because I wanted it to work out. I had picked up and moved and changed my life to do this. But actually my husband, who was not my husband at that time, Jonathan, he said, you always loved your chiropractor. Why don't you go talk to him and see what he says? And then when I talked to him, I was like, you know what? I think that would be a great idea. So here we go, picking up again, moving to Atlanta. And then
Mm-hmm.
we started chiropractic college there, ended up going to Portland, Oregon from Atlanta and finishing up chiropractic college in Portland. But, it's just something where life changes and you've got to kind of go with the flow and realize that everything's not going to go exactly the way you thought it was going to. And you got to keep pushing and figuring out what you need to do, and it'll change. I mean, I think the average person has what, 6 or 7 times in their lifetime they change careers. And so,
Wow.
that was something that I experienced very early on in
Mm-hmm.
my lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Well, what prompted you to move from Atlanta, Georgia to Portland, Oregon?
Oh my gosh, that's a long, convoluted story. Um, and so I'm getting into it a little too much. The chiropractic profession, there are very different philosophies within it.
Yeah, yeah.
And in Atlanta at Life University, it was really the largest chiropractic college at the time. And they were very strict. Let's teach everybody chiropractic. And that's why we were in school. And that was great. But there are things that we are allowed to do in some states that is not chiropractic, really. I mean, like in the state of Oregon, where we were before, you could deliver babies, do minor surgeries, do
Oh, wow.
gynecology, proctology. So we have to learn that in school. But life's stance was, hey, that's not why these people are becoming chiropractors. So they taught it some, but didn't teach it to the degree that the accrediting agencies felt like they should. So there was some fighting, and then there was a threat of pulling their accreditation. So we thought, you know what, let's just go ahead and transfer and know we're going to be able to finish school. So we did our first 2 years at Life, and then we went to Portland. We had visited Portland actually the year before and really loved it. So we're trying to figure out if we wanted to live somewhere else in the
Mm-hmm.
U.S. And we really loved that area. And there happened to be a chiropractic college there. And we're like, let's go. They've got a good reputation. We know we can finish our school. Life never lost its accreditation. They're still going strong, still a great chiropractic college. But we just went to Portland and ended up finishing there and staying there. It's a beautiful area of the country.
Mm-hmm. How long were you in the Portland area?
We were there for 20 years. So we were there. And it's funny because we got there and we just loved that area. So it was in the back of our minds, and we might want to stay. I mean, we were young and we didn't think about the fact that all of our families here in Alabama and in the Southeast, and that we would want and need to be close to family. And so we just really just dug in and explored and loved that area. And the longer we were there, the more we realized, hey, wait a second, we really would like to, at least retire in Alabama, or do we want to go back sooner? And it turned out that we were able to make that happen, where we were able to come back home sooner than we were thinking otherwise. And we realized coming back home that Alabama's beautiful too. You grow up someplace, you take it for granted. You don't think
Yeah.
about how beautiful the area of the world you live, you're born in is. And so it's funny now that I'm back here as an adult, I feel like I'm exploring and learning all about the place where I grew up, because
Yeah.
you just go where your parents take you, go where your friends are, and you don't really explore and know all those cool things that we explored and learned as outsiders in Washington. Now we're back here and we can explore here.
Mhm. How long have you been back in Alabama?
Been here 3 years now. So
Okay.
yeah, we're just excited to be back. We felt like crazy people starting all over, building a practice again. But it also felt really good because we had a very large practice in Vancouver. We were very proud of it. We loved it. We loved that area, loved our patients. But after a while, it almost felt like it was consuming us. And here we were we were right across the river from Portland, Oregon. We were in traffic all the time, and we had this big office, and I do a lot of the bookkeeping. It's like, this is so much. And so we really wanted to kind of slow down. And so we have learned here we could build an equally large practice, but we're keeping it to where we can be sane, we can enjoy it, and be more of like a small town doctor situation where we can get to know our patients, which we did there too. That's always been how we function. But we're able, you're saying, how do I do all the things I do? I feel like I have a lot of time to do extra things and enjoy it. I'm able to teach Pilates, and I got my certification while I was in Portland, but I really didn't get to teach classes. Well, here I can do that. I've given myself more time to do all of those sorts of things along with chiropractic care and treating patients. And then we're spending more time doing the things for the community and in the community that we love.
So what prompted you, and your husband, but you in particular, since I'm interviewing you, what prompted you to, while you're in the Portland area, to say, this isn't really what I want. I want something different. Because I mean, you were 20 years into your career, very successful practice, probably, I'm assuming making some decent money. You're 20 years in, and you're like, this isn't really what I want at this point. So how did you come to that decision, and what was it like to make that decision and then pivot to move to Alabama?
I think the catalyst, quite frankly, was what happened during COVID. We were on the other side of the country. All of our family was here. And it was very eye opening to realize that something could happen that would keep us from being able to easily get here if someone needed us.
Mhm.
And so we had known before that we would want to retire here. And there were a lot of things that we missed about Alabama. The longer we were gone, the more we missed Alabama. But we had built this big practice that, we said we built this beast of a practice. And yes, it was successful, but we were defining success. We were starting to define success differently. We were starting to think it's not to have that big practice, to have all the money coming in or the patients coming in. It was more, we wanted to get back to our roots, get back to home where family needed us and where we really needed family. We wanted to be back with family. And so we had a patient. This was early in our chiropractic career. She was 12 years old. She came to see us, and she had terrible migraines. She was not able to go to school most of the time. And
Uh,
her parents, we became very good friends with her parents through that process. So it was almost like they became our family on the West Coast. We would go visit them in Seattle on the weekends. They would come down to see us in Vancouver. And Nicole, their daughter, she started coming down and spending weekends with us, started spending summers with us. And she became practically our child also. Her mother jokingly says that she was just a surrogate for us to have a child. But she very much has wonderful parents there. But she started spending a lot of time with us and decided she wanted to go to chiropractic college. And so she went through chiropractic college, and then she came back and worked for us in Vancouver. So we really saw that opening of, what, we've got someone here that can take over this legacy, so to speak, that we
mhm,
trust, that we love, that is practically family to us. And we felt more comfortable at that moment saying, what, we can start working on shifting and doing something different in this stage in life and getting back to Alabama, because we knew she could do a great job and she could take over and we could help her and make sure that she's successful with what she does. So
mhm.
in that respect, that's our legacy there, has been passed on to her, and she's doing a
Nice,
wonderful job.
nice. So you mentioned something there that, um, I think is really important for people to hear, and that's that your idea of success changed.
Mhm.
Tell us about that.
Well, it was of course we appreciate it, and we were blessed to have such a successful practice. I mean, we do a specialty within chiropractic, so what we do doesn't necessarily match what most of your typical chiropractic offices do. So we were able to build a successful business, and we're very proud of that. But like I said, we reached a point to where we felt like it was consuming us. And it wasn't a bad thing. Like I said, we really loved our patients. We're still in contact with a lot of those patients. Period. Jonathan has gone back to help Nicole with the practice when she's needed it in short periods of time. We're going to be heading there to visit her soon. So we're still very much tied into it. But it did feel like something was missing, that when you're in a big city like that, and I realize now what it was. I couldn't have told you 4 or 5 years ago when we're making the decision to come back, what it was exactly that why we wanted to come back so much. But now that I'm here, I realize when you're in a big city, you can get lost in all the noise. And I really love a small town setting. I love the community. I love the feel. And I think I was missing that and didn't realize it for so long. And then now that we're back here, and I have had the opportunity to get very involved in the city. And my parents, they were always they were very civic minded people. And all of my friends' parents growing up were. So, working to help a community wasn't just encouraged, it was expected of all of us. But I didn't do much of that in Vancouver. I didn't have that part of me. And now we're here. I'm like, okay, was the pull, is to get back. And Jonathan's from Birmingham, so he's never lived in a small town. But
Oh, wow.
and I never thought he would, but it was his, he was like, we should move to Sylacauga. And I was like, okay, that sounds good to me. So, we got here, and it's just, we're happy to be here. And I'm happy to be back home, and happy
Mhm.
to be where, this community shaped who I am, basically.
Mhm. So what was the, because one of, with this podcast, I want to inspire some women, and there are women who are having to make decisions, or maybe they feel a pull to some area or to do something different. What was that mindset shift that had to happen in you to go, okay, and you may have already answered this, but what's that mindset shift that had to happen in you that said, okay, we're moving, and we're moving to Sylacauga. We're going from the big city back to the small town.
Well, the thing that made me truly say, okay, let's do it now, again, was everything that happened during COVID, because here we were out there. And also, just we realized that a lot of our values, a lot of who we are, was very much entwined in maybe Southern culture. And, it was something where we started seeing that, okay, we want to get back home. And, things did, unfortunately, in a lot of big cities fall apart on the West Coast. So, starting in 2020, there was rioting in Portland. We had a very big increase in uh, graffiti and drugs, and the issue of homeless population. And it became a very different place to live. We were in Vancouver, yes, but you could almost throw a rock from our house and hit Portland. So, we were right there outside of Portland. And that was always our big city that we could go into. And Portland actually had a small town feel when we first moved there. It was that big city that had pockets of different communities that had that they had their own personality and their own
Mhm.
small town feel. And over that 20 years, it was no longer like that anymore. We got into the heavy traffic. People from California were moving up. Everybody was moving into that area. And it was like, okay, we went from being able to get into Portland easily and then walk around downtown and feel safe and feel comfortable and love it, to having to sit in traffic just to get into downtown, having to get downtown, and the later part of that we're there, to an area that wasn't safe anymore. And so we didn't go into downtown anymore. So there were so many things that shifted that made us think, what are we doing out here? Why are we here? And
Mhm.
even though we had that practice and we were there for our patients, just for us, we thought we're just going to do this and head back home.
Well, when you got back home, what was it like to start over? I mean, because you had to open a brand new practice, and I
It,
mean,
it was challenging, but it was frightening at times. We had, like I said, we had a successful practice and we had saved money, but at the same time, we're thinking we still have to have a business. And so we didn't do any. We've had a big practice, so we didn't come in and think we're just gonna have a small situation. We bought a building downtown, which is a 100-year-old building. We also have a 100-year-old house, so we have a lot of work on both of them that we were doing. And we did the build out, and it's like, okay, let's see what happens in a small town. But again, I think because of the type of chiropractic we do, and also because of maybe who we are, we're very entwined in the community, that we've been able to really build another big practice. But it took us, it took some time, and we had to understand that it was going to take time. We had to think, okay, we're building and we're starting over, and that's okay. It's
yeah,
we will get there. We jokingly say that every day we wake up and we're thinking about pushing that boulder up a hill, and that you can't stop pushing that boulder up a hill. And that's so true. You've got to keep working, you've got to keep pushing. And for us, it again, we have been blessed for it to really happen again. And,
Mhm.
even something like Pilates, I was thought, okay, we're in a small town. We've got a little over 12,000 people here in this town. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to make a room that is for me, that I love, that this is, I love Pilates. I had all the equipment. It's like, if nobody comes, I'm going to have a room that I love. And so I made it. Then I started out with small classes and they started growing. And then I had to move all my equipment from the one room to another spot in the clinic where we were doing, we were allowing artists to keep their stuff. So I felt bad. I had to steal a spot where we were allowing local artists to display their things. And I moved all my equipment there. And then I had my group classroom, my equipment room, and the classes have grown. I have a wait list for my 6 a.m. class each week. And I've started teaching bar classes and started teaching, balance classes and stretch classes. And that's one thing that's amazed me, that apparently there was a big enough need in Sylacauga for something like that. And those women, and I've got a couple of men that come to classes too, but those women really inspire me. They are, um, I've got everybody from teenagers that come with their moms sometimes to somebody in the early 80s that comes to class, and they all support each other. It doesn't matter who they are, what education level they have, where they live in town, what kind of job they have. All of these people, when they're in that room, they take care of each other and they applaud each other, and they really make sure that everyone is lifted up. And so I have loved seeing that. I mean, that's been amazing because, if somebody says, "Hey, I felt my muscle," then we all are so excited about that person being able to know that they have a muscle there. And so, and
Mhm.
if somebody comes in, they can't do something, I've got other people like, "Well, we couldn't do that at first, so you'll get there." And so it's a very supportive class. So I love this group, and I'm so glad that it has grown, and that, the people that come and go in the class are still very welcome, and love it and get a good experience and feel better. That's what it's
Mhm.
all about.
What do you think caused so many people to gravitate to that? I mean, were you advertising it, or was it word of mouth, or just did you build a community?
It's word of mouth. I mean, I haven't advertised anything. I've been terrible with that. I mean, we've been, again, fortunate with our business side of things that we've never really had to advertise. Now, being in a small town, that's where I've had to explain to my husband, we're in a small town. Even though we don't need to advertise, we need to advertise. We need to support these people that are trying to make a living to
Yeah.
advertise. And so we're doing some of that, but it was all word of mouth, and we've kind of built that community from that. And I'll do things in class and I'll think, oh my gosh, if the because my certification is through Stop Pilates, they would not like to see me do this, but we have so much fun, and that's like I play music, and we just have a good time in there. And so the community has been built upon the fact that I think they can go in there and everybody can escape and laugh and have a good time. And they groan and they pick on me because I'm making them do stuff. And so I feel like the more that they complain when we're in class, then the better the class is because I know I got them. So
Yeah.
we had a great time with Pilates.
Well, I want to get to the chiropractic here in just a second, but I don't want this point to pass us without really bringing light to the fact that you thought, nobody, this is a small town.
Yeah,
Nobody's going to want to do this. Maybe I'll have one or two people. And then it has grown beyond what you ever imagined just because you showed up and
I
you
kept
were,
pushing that boulder up a hill.
you kept pushing that boulder up a hill. And that's so important. I think people fail, for lack of a better word, people fail because they stop pushing that boulder up the hill.
Hmm.
And, as business owners, we can't stop pushing that boulder.
Yeah,
We can't quit. We can't stop. And,
we got to
it may
show up
be,
every day.
yeah, at some point you may get to the point where, yeah, this isn't really working out, so it's time to pivot. But you went in thinking nobody's going to come, and now you've got a group of women who are really, you have a community who are really
Absolutely.
encouraging and supporting one another. So that is an excellent point there. So tell me, you've mentioned a few times that your chiropractic practice is a little different. Tell us about your chiropractic practice.
We do a technique. Chiropractic has a lot of different techniques, and a lot of people don't know that. And our technique is called Atlas orthogonal. And so we got our board certification after school in that technique, and it's all about realigning the very top bone in your neck. So it's a very precise adjustment. We take images, we know exactly what's happening at the very upper part of the neck, and we can precisely put it back in place. So we are available for people that are scared of traditional chiropractic. There's no reason to be scared of traditional chiropractic by any means, but people that are scared to have a neck adjusted, people that have had surgeries that maybe shouldn't have some kind of forceful adjustment of their neck can still benefit from chiropractic with what we do, because we do everything in a neutral position. It's with an instrument. When I mentioned Nicole, our person who bought our practice in Vancouver, had migraines, what we do can help a lot of times with headaches and migraines. And we usually get a lot of the unique cases. We get a lot of the cases that from maybe other chiropractors referred to us because they couldn't get the results, or medical doctors have referred to us. So we're sort of an outlier. Not, I mean, and chiropractic, you can talk to any chiropractor and they've helped a lot of people with unique kind of cases. But we just have always been that clinic. And here where it's a little different. And in Vancouver, we kind of built that practice as a headache and migraine practice. And so we worked with local dentists, we worked with optometrists. So we had an orthopedic group that sent people to us for headaches or for whiplash or for nerve kind of issues coming from the neck. But here's a small town chiropractic office. We've ended up seeing a little bit of everything, but we're starting to have doctors in Birmingham refer people to us. And I would say half of our practice right now is people from out of town. And
Wow.
so, we've started getting those outlying kind of cases from doctors that are sending us for the unique situation that patients are in, versus standard chiropractic care, which we love to do also. But
Hmm.
most of our local folks are just people that want to come in, get adjusted, and feel better, and
Hmm.
walk right back out of here.
Hmm. What is your favorite thing about being a chiropractor?
I enjoy seeing the change in people. And you can get bogged down as a chiropractor. A lot of people will come to you and they want you to just fix them. Just fix me and I'll walk out here, I'll feel better. And that's all I want to do.
Hmm.
But it's when you have those people that come in that not only want you to help them in that moment, they want to find things to help them from there on out so that they can do so well, they don't really need you anymore. And that's what I love is when we have a patient that comes in that is happy to change a diet, happy to understand that what they put in or on their bodies can affect how they feel, and really want to do better with that. Or the people that are wanting to exercise, they don't have to come to my Pilates class for me to try to help them learn some different things that they can do to stabilize their body to feel better. And so, that's when it becomes a very rewarding, not just getting people feeling better. Of course, everybody in chiropractic wants people to feel good, and that's why you're there, because you're a healthcare provider, you want people to feel good. But when you see people really take their health into their own hands and just use you as a tool to help them get there, that's when it changes. It goes to a completely different dimension as far as chiropractic goes.
Hmm. It seems like that you take kind of a comprehensive approach to health because you also are, when you look at anybody looks at your Facebook page, they see a lot of posts about nutrition, that you're really encouraging people to read labels, know
Mhm.
what they're putting in their bodies. So you take this holistic approach. It's not just, making an adjustment here and there.
And we're seeing a lot of people. Typically, when I'd come home, I was that weirdo. That was one thing about the Northwest or the West Coast in general, is that people were very open to, if you had dietary preferences. Oh, everybody was okay with that. And I
Mhm.
had somebody tell me this one day, that he was telling me he's very awkward in social settings, but if he just sat down and started telling somebody something weird about his diet, that opened up a conversation, he was fine in any social setting, because everybody up in the Northwest would want to talk about, oh, well, I can't eat dairy because of this. And so, but you come here and people thought that it's like they would look at you like you're from another planet. But
Mhm.
things are shifting. We're having a lot of people that are starting to read labels, starting to understand it, starting to want to understand those things
Mhm.
and talk to us about it. So it's we're no longer, or I'm no longer the weirdo that's coming coming back to town, but the one that has some of the knowledge that can help them figure out what they need to do to feel better.
Mhm. Well, I want to pivot just a little bit because I do know that you have some things that you're passionate about and that you've enjoyed getting involved with in the community since you've been back in Sylacauga. So, how are you giving back to the Sylacauga community?
When I got back, I would say the first two things I did are the two things that I probably spend most of my time. I'm on a lot of different boards. I'm that person that if they need me and I can make the time for it, then I'm going to tell people yes. So I'm on a lot of different boards, but the I'm on the executive board of Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill. That's our local rescue, and we work directly with Sylacauga Animal Shelter, and so we rescue dogs and cats. And then I'm also currently the president of the Beautification Council, and so both of those things. When I first came to town, uh, I mean, we'd already been supporting Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill from afar. We'd even adopted a dog from here and ended up driving her across the country to take her back with us. So they were on my radar already, and we had been supporting from afar with donations. And then when we got here, I thought, okay, I need to start volunteering some. So I started helping them out. But there's a gentleman here in town that has been leading litter pickup for a long time, and I started contacting him. When are you going to pick up litter? And I'd go help him do it. And I realized, well, this is fun too, to support him. We ended up hiring his wife as our front desk person,
Oh,
and then
wow.
our lives became very intertwined with each other. And then one of my middle school teachers, I saw her in town. She said, you should come to the Beautification Council meeting. So that was early on too, that I went to one of the meetings, and I drug Brandy, who's a guy that picks up litter, and his wife, Kim, who runs our front desk. And we went to a meeting, and then I really dove in after that, because one thing that's very apparent, growing, like I said, growing up here, there was a lot of support in the town. A lot of people were part of civic organizations, and were doing things for the community, and working in community service. And so I just assumed when I came back that all of these places would be full of volunteers, that we'd have a lot of people. And I quickly realized when I would go to meetings that there wasn't as much support. And I don't, everybody's got things that they enjoy supporting, and a lot of people are probably supporting things that I don't know anything about. So it's not that people aren't doing things. I was just surprised, especially with the Beautification Council, because it used to be huge in the 80s and 90s, and I've been gone for almost 30 years. So going in and seeing that there were 11 people that were
Oh,
trying to
wow.
hang on and keep it going, it's like, this is not good. So that's one thing where I have found passion about it, to really try to build it back up, really try to make it more than a yearly litter pickup, and getting a grant to put a sign to welcome people to Sylacauga. So we built it from there. They had some wonderful people that were doing it before. It's just, it was mainly a lot of people that had been doing it for years. I mean, and so,
Mhm.
people were in their 70s, people were in their 80s, and we needed some people there that could build it back up again and help them.
Mhm.
And I've
Mhm.
enjoyed learning from them and working with them and helping to build that up, and have really enjoyed also working with the animal rescue. That's a big situation here in town as well.
Mhm. Are you seeing more buy-in from the younger generation in Sylacauga now? Are they starting to come out and kind of
And
support and do things in the city?
they are with the Beautification Council. I have found some people who are go-getters here in town that are in their 20s and 30s, and gotten them involved. And so now I've got more help. They can get on TikTok and Instagram, and they can be more attractive to really get more young people in. And
Mhm.
we've built it up. I would say we have about 50 members now. So we've been building, and I've got a solid core of people that will show up for all the events. And as far as feral dogs, we uh, I started a dog walking program at the shelter,
Mhm.
and now I've got two people that have kind of, I was the main person doing it for a couple of years, and then I had somebody come in and help me. And now I've got two people that are sisters that live in the area. They have kind of taken it and run with it. And so they have so many more skills than I do with everything, with videos. And so they have really kind of taken what I started there and built so much from it. So I love seeing that they're able to keep it going. So they're younger than I am. They've got, and now we see teenagers asking to come and walk dogs, and a lot of families coming out. So especially with support of the Sylacauga Animal Shelter, I've seen a lot of people of all ages, and especially young people, that have gotten very interested in coming out to do it.
How do you want your work, whether it's, through the chiropractic or with the animal shelter or with the beautification committee or council or anything else, how do you want your work to impact people who you may never meet?
Of course, I hope that from our chiropractic side of thing, with everything we're trying to do to get people healthier, that they will share that information with family. They'll share that information with friends, and that maybe we can also start a generation of kids that are not eating so much sugar, that are getting out and getting exercise and not just sitting and looking at their devices of whatever kind. So, I hope with that is something that we'll see more of, and that I don't ever have to know those people, but know that maybe that they can be healthier and feel better and live better. But everything that we're doing, especially with Beautification Council, there's so much. I mean, we're planting trees. We're working on the Sylacauga, our historic cemetery here, that had kind of I mean, the city cuts the grass, and there'd been some things done in the past, but in the recent years there wasn't as much done. So I would love to see that continue to be preserved as our only remaining part of Old Town Sylacauga, the original town there,
Mhm.
and that people will continue to do that after I'm long gone. Or the trees that we plant with Beautification Council, I will never sit under those trees, but somebody will. And I just hope that those sorts of things can enrich the community and enrich people's lives here. And then, of course, with the animal, I stepped in with feral dogs. They had been around for 8 years and have done phenomenal work. So other than the dog walking at the shelter, I can't stake a claim on anything that those women with feral dogs have done. They're amazing. I've had some wonderful people to mentor me in the animal rescue world.
Mhm.
But the hope is that we can change things in this area. Maybe Sylacauga can be an example for the whole state with animal rescue, with animal laws, because in Washington State and in Oregon, we didn't have stray dogs. We didn't have cats roaming around everywhere. We had laws to where if you saw a dog out, you knew it was somebody's and it got loose, and you just go help it and find their home. And then moving here, that was something that was very eye-opening to me, to see all of the stray dogs roaming around and the cats everywhere. And so that was a major thing for me, and why I was glad to work with this group, because they've done so many things. And I just hope that that continues, and that it can make a big change for this area for the future, or change people's minds with how they deal with their animals.
You have a lot of things going on and wonderful. I mean, working with animals, I've got, my two dogs sitting next to me right now. I love animals and being a part of the beautification. I mean, and then the wanting to pass on nutrition and having healthy kids. If you had to narrow it down to one thing, what do you want your legacy to be?
I would just like for people to know that I showed up for the community. And legacy, we discussed this. I don't have any children. So legacy for me is not necessarily family based. It's not necessarily thinking about what is going to happen when I'm gone. Legacy for me is more community based. It's more of me thinking about how I live my life every day, and how is that affecting the community and affecting other people. And I would just love to know that people knew that I showed up for this community, and
Mhm.
that some of these values that I have could be seen in the lives of others. And that may be that they also saw value in it and decided that they wanted to do it as well, or that the things that I value are enriching the community, or enriching someone's individual life because they have access to it.
Mhm. I think it's a powerful legacy. I mean, you're trying to make the world, or well, narrow it down. You're trying to make Sylacauga a better place for future generations, for your generation, but also future generations.
And
And I
we're calling
think,
it with our office, Make Sylacauga Healthy Again.
well, speaking of your office, how can people find you and work with you?
Well, we're Broadway Spinal Care, and we do have a website. We're working with someone to get our website. It's broadwayspinalcare.com. We're also on Facebook. I'm sure we're on Instagram, but I am the worst with social media. I wasn't even on Facebook until we moved back home, and I realized a lot of people communicate through Facebook here. So
Mhm.
down and did it. So I cannot tell you how to find us. I guess Spinal Care on Instagram. And yeah, and so we're pretty easy to find. Pretty easy to find me on Facebook as well.
Okay, and I will, for those of you listening, all of Tara's contact information, all the links to the website, to
Thank you.
Facebook, and all those will be in the show notes, so you can track her down and find her and reach out to her and encourage her for all the work that she's doing, but also support. I mean, if you're in the Sylacauga area, come out and help build a better community. and anywhere. I think you are inspiring people to reach out and make their community better. We talk about making the world a better place, but you can make your world, which is your little corner of the world, whether it's, in Sylacauga, a small town, or in Birmingham or Huntsville, or, wherever, you can make your community better. And so you have been a shining example of that. And I appreciate all that you're doing to help with the animals, to work with rescuing animals, foster. I know I've, because I watched or looked on your Facebook, I know you have fostered a whole lot of dogs,
We
and I think that's incredible because that takes a lot of heart and takes a lot of dedication to do that. So thank you for that.
Well, I've been inspired by so many wonderful people here, and Sylacauga has a lot of wonderful women leaders. And even
Hmm.
my stepmom herself, Shirley Spears, I've had a really great example to watch my whole life. And so, before we go, there's an Ella Fitzgerald song, and it's you were talking about making the world better, but also make you where you are in your corner of the earth. The Ella Fitzgerald song is "Brighten the Corner Where You Are."
Oh,
And
nice.
it is quite it's a special song. You listen to it, and it's upbeat, it's fun, and it also just encourages you to, what, you can brighten the corner where you are in some
Hmm.
form, and that's what we all should be thinking about.
Hmm. And that's what you're doing. You're brightening your corner of the world.
Well, thank you. I enjoy it, and I love this town, so I'll keep pushing.
Nice. And if you've never been to Sylacauga, if you're listening, never been to Sylacauga, get through there. Go. It's between Birmingham and Auburn. If you're ever driving that direction, but it's a nice little town. So be sure to stop in and visit and spend your money there because as you're stopping through, make that your spot to stop. All right. Well, I want to thank you all so much for listening to Legacy Her Way. If today's conversation inspired you, moved you, or made you think differently about what legacy means, and really, and for me, it does because of all that Tara is involved with, and as she explained, you just make your corner of the world better. Legacy doesn't have to be about children, it doesn't have to be about money. You define what your legacy is, and her legacy is making her community better. And I think hopefully that will inspire some of you to think differently about legacy and uh, maybe follow in what Tara is doing in helping your community. So be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, leave a review to help more women find inspiration for their own path to legacy. Until next time, keep building boldly, loving deeply, and living your legacy her way.